Mm. Boom, boom. Perfect. Everybody, you guys are back. Thank you guys and welcome back to Black Expat Life Abroad. I am excited, as always, to have another conversation regarding this entire move abroad process. We'd always talk about not only what you do before you leave, but also what you may need to look into once you get on the other side to your expat destination. And tonight, I am blessed to be able to have the platform with none other than Miss Dr. Erica Wilkins. How you doing today?
I'm well. How are you? It's good to see you.
Yes, it is always good to see you, Erica. I appreciate you coming on tonight and actually being able to discuss some very important topics because I know a lot of people right now regarding the mental health perspective are realistically looking at this move abroad as a way of escaping possibly what it is that all of America's burdens provide. And I think tonight's conversation is going to be double edged because we talk about not only what you are going to do or what you are needing to do to leave America behind, but also the understanding of what happens when you leave. How do you adapt to a new language, a new culture? We always talk about finding community on this platform, but those things are not only intentional, but very important to your sustained mental health positivity when looking to move abroad. So, tonight, we're going to get into not only some of those topics. I encourage anybody that is watching this to please share it with somebody that is looking to move abroad. This conversation is designed to help you now as well as help you once you actually leave. But I also need you guys, if you have any questions or comments, please drop those into the chat. That way, we can understand what it is that you may be realistically looking for the most. But tonight, let's start off with an introduction because I know who you are, but I want the audience to get a better understanding of who you are and what you've been doing to help people that have moved abroad and how to navigate that.
Mhm. Hi again. I'm Dr. Erica Wilkins. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist and a coach and a traveler. I've been traveling for, going to age myself, 30 years. And when I say I'm a traveler, I'm using that word very intentionally, right? Because I'm not a tourist. I've always been the type to travel, explore places and cultures, and do my best to blend in, to fade into the culture. I have been a licensed marriage and family therapist for over 20 years, which is wild. Y'all getting my age. Um,
Like
and
I say,
of
don't crack.
late,
It's all good.
melanin. And as of late, I also have tagged coach onto what I do. And so in my travels, I most frequently have been traveling in Mexico. You'll hear me mention Mexico City, Colombia, have just had a lot of very rich experiences with folks that have migrated to these countries or are looking to migrate to these countries. And so I look forward to having a full conversation with you tonight.
No, this is excellent. Before we had gotten on to the live, and I was talking about just the mental health with Dr. Wilkins, and essentially what I realized is that so many people, the reason or the catalyst that they're looking at, as far as the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back, when looking to move abroad, they're thinking about safety. And I got a message today regarding safety when looking to move abroad and understanding where it is that you are in America. And wanted to ask you, do you oftentimes have people coming to you before they're looking to take a leap abroad and asking these questions about, is it safe on the other side of the TSA?
I gotta say, and this is probably no surprise to you, RJ, because you and I are friends, this idea of safety coming from Americans is so American.
Hmm.
Um, and, I no matter where I'm traveling, I always spend the time in the States, a month between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I remember my first week there, there were four mass shootings within 40 minutes of where
Mm,
I was in 1 week. And so that was prior to January 2025. And we all know what happened in January 2025 and what has been happening, right? And so
mm,
violence has been ramping up, and different forms of violence have been ramping up. And so, like, when Americans question safety in other countries, it always reeks of propaganda to me. I'm gonna keep it straight, no chaser.
no,
Because
that's me.
just this idea of that Americans are first world and dominating, and there's the American standard. But like, for those of us who are American, um, hopefully we have a good idea of um, the actual reality of our lived
Hmm.
experience. You and I are from the same city. So if we
Hmm.
look at Philadelphia alone, on a given night, one given day, we
Hmm.
can sadly make a prediction of how many people in a given night are going to get killed.
Hmm.
And so and that is not even a new phenomenon, right? And so just this idea of, are other countries safe, as if the United States is the gold standard, I think is a part of the propaganda that as Americans we've been fed. And so for anybody that is questioning safety, I would really encourage folks to get out. And we've talked about dating countries before.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Get out, date a country, uh, sit with yourself in terms of really being able to let it gel the lies that we've been told about many countries, and usually disproportionately countries that have Black and Brown people in them.
Yep.
The lies that we've been told about safety, and then allow your own reality to come rushing in. Um, that's where I'll leave it for now.
No, I get that. I tell people all the time, like I don't have certain thought processes when living abroad, Mexico, Colombia. I just don't think or have to think, or I'm forced to think in a way where in the United States I'm a lot more attentive to loud sounds, to people yelling, to things going off. One of the things that I think is the more nuanced conversation when people are looking at safety is the navigating of what you know in the United States as danger and what you don't know what looks like in Colombia danger or Mexico danger, on top of navigating language. And we talked about high level. This conversation is not only for what it is that you're going to do before you leave and how to prepare, but also once you get there, because navigating the language and the culture, that can be a scenario that either presents danger, or you may see danger coming in the same fashion that you would see it in the United States. So how are you helping people navigate that, because language and culture is definitely something a little bit different.
Yeah, a rule of thumb that I've had wherever I've traveled, and to be clear, most of my travels have been by myself.
Hmm.
And so, I've been to Paris and South Africa and Mexico and Colombia. I've been to various places completely dolo. And what I would advise, and what I do advise everybody to do, when you get to a new location, no matter how excited you are to be in that location, that is not, and especially if you're by yourself, but even if you're with your people, like, you don't throw yourself face first into any environment. Um, Rule of thumb for me is that I am extremely cautious, um, while also having my ear to the ground, picking the brains of as many people as possible. Get up out of your smartphone,
Mm-hmm.
Avail yourself to conversations with random people, Uber drivers, taxi drivers. um, you know Ask the questions. I remember in Cape Town, taxi drivers saying, yeah, you got to be careful sometimes, because sometimes taxis with machetes and people will do this, that, and the other, and this is what you do, and this is how you navigate. If I was in my smartphone or closed off, I wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
learned that intel. And so until I really have a good sense of, like, relatively good sense, of course, stuff can happen. Like, let's just be real about that.
Yep.
Stuff can happen. You can take all the precautions and still nonsense can occur, you know? But like when you feel, I don't start venturing out too far outside the lines. And by too far outside the lines, I know when I was in Johannesburg, I would do this thing of like, an Uber literally picked me up at my doorstep. If I was going to a lounge or a restaurant, you're going to drop me off right in front of the door and I'm going right
Mm-hmm.
inside.
I understand.
I'm not like strolling, walking through the streets. I'm not, like coloring outside
Mm-hmm.
the lines until I figure out what's what, who's who. In Colombia, a rule of thumb and something that they say is no dar papaya, which basically means don't do stupid stuff, don't take the risk, don't make yourself a mark.
Yep.
But it takes time to learn. And this is again through conversations with people, again, like, making sure that your social boundaries are more porous so that you're getting information from people. Um, and when you start to learn kind of how crime usually works, you learn things like, oh, when you're in a car, make sure you don't have your windows rolled down because somebody could come along on a motorcycle and like grab your phone, grab your purse, right? And so that is the advice that I give to folks, is to remain accessible enough to their social environment that they're able to ask the questions, get the intel, and make informed choices. I also, I think there's a whole conversation to be had about like what are people trying to get into when they travel. So, the sex tourism industries, prostitution is legal in Colombia, and so, for example, if people are coming to Colombia and wanting to partake in the sex tourism industry, what I would say is for folks to be real smart about, like, okay, so how can they take, no shade to people that engage in sex tourism industry, people live in different lives. But like, are people learning culturally what their parameters are, what the rules are, so they can ensure their safety? A lot of times, these alerts are being put out by different governments, the U.S. Embassy, danger alerts, this, that, and the third. But there's not a lot of context for why the alerts are put out about safety or danger in different countries. And so, a lot of folks that have been in Colombia, for example, know that a lot of the folks that have fallen prey to violence or worse, um, have been down, in Colombia trying to get sex tourism
Need a new friend.
or pedophilia. Right. So, you know, it's one of those things. It's like whatever you get into when you're traveling, just make sure before you get into it, the parameters, that dark papaya.
See, and I think that's tough to navigate because I tell people all the time, you have this understanding. You mentioned growing up in Philadelphia, or, being from Philadelphia. I know how to walk around the city, but just because I grew up in the Northeast doesn't mean that the average person that is looking to move abroad grew up there or grew up in an environment where they are used to navigating what danger looks like.
Mhm.
And then the stories that are coming out are stories that will cause concern, people getting robbed or things happening. And what I tell people a lot of time when looking at that, just from a safety perspective, you've got to take into considerations most of the time when you go and dig a little deeper, you find out that somebody put themselves into a scenario that they normally wouldn't do, especially if you just take those same glasses and say, okay, what would you do in the United States? Would you invite somebody that you don't know, that you just met, to your house? Maybe you are the kind of person, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen often. And those things are what we would consider risky behavior. So I would tell people many times that what the news headlines that come out often are definitely aligned with risky behavior. But you said something about even like with the phone thing. Um, I think a lot of Americans don't realize that we are taught to wear our money on our bank accounts. Nobody can tell me that I'm wrong and or what to do. So in Colombia, I know for a specific, somebody would say like, "Oh, put your phone away. Don't be with your phone out." And I have had, customers, clients, friends, family, and say, well, why would I do that? Well, somebody is going out of their way to tell you, like, here's what the local customs are. These things may not work here the way they do in the United States. And it oftentimes it has to be on the person to have their drawbridge low enough to start understanding where they are. And I know you kind of cater to that, which is how do I get comfortable being uncomfortable so I can actually get comfortable in the place that I decided to move? Can you talk to me about how you help people navigate that process? Because I know it's a challenge.
I think that I think safety is a fallacy, no matter where you are in the world. If you look, I'm gonna, tongue in cheek, but for real, you look at the horror movies. Most of the horror movies were in suburbs or rural areas. It was Candyman. The first time I was like, "Oh, there's a black man in the city." Oh, Lord, I was scared. But
They were in like trains.
I think that really the idea of safety is a fallacy, and I think that people should be wise no matter where you are in the world. You should be keeping your head on a swivel no matter where you are. Maybe that's me being from Philly, RJ. I don't know what you think, but like,
I'm with you.
I'm actually more scared in like rural areas when it's completely quiet and you hear the crickets chirping. And so, this idea that there's any place in this world where there should be like, don't worry about locking your doors is so
Hmm.
foreign to me, or that you shouldn't be thinking, okay, so if this was to happen, where are the exits? How would I get out of, like, I think, and this also could be gendered. I'm a woman, right? And so I'm very used to having to secure my surroundings as much as possible, or think about whether my surroundings are secure or not. But I would extend that to everybody. I don't think that there's a context that anybody should be living in where they feel like, oh, there's nothing that could possibly happen. No, like I think wherever
Hmm.
you are, you're susceptible to nonsense occurring.
No. That is real. You talked about being a woman, and when you travel, you're often going solo. What advice are you giving to women that are coming to you that are moving abroad, that are solo, and helping them navigate this new challenge in their life?
Mhm. Mm. I would say do it as long as you are ready to have your head on the swivel. I also would say, when I'm traveling by myself, I don't do a lot of nightlife. So,
Hmm.
like, I'm not gonna turn up by myself in the way that I might. I'm a doctor, so let me not say that I ever turn up, but I'm not going to turn up um, in the way that I might, like, on a girls' trip, or with like trusted people around me, right? That I'm going to like, it's going to be a different type of traveling when I'm by myself. But I stand by the best thing that I did for my adulthood, for my womanhood. When I was 23, was I went to Paris for 2 weeks by myself. This was before the age of smartphones.
Okay.
This was before you had Google on your hip. And, just as a woman, and as, to have the comfort of being able to eat a meal by yourself at a restaurant and sit down, to be able to develop that confidence was the best
Hmm.
thing that I did for my adulthood. And so I would strongly recommend it to people. I also think that there's something to be said about having the mental space outside of your usual context, to think about your usual context, to think about the choices that you're making in your lifestyle back home, so that you can make informed decisions. It's kind of like that thing. It's like, you ever get outside of a relationship and you're like, Oh, when I was in the relationship, I didn't see it, but now, oh, I see this.
Hmm.
That there's a way once you get outside of your lived context that you get some insights, and get outside your lived context, get quiet, get by yourself, put the smartphone down, maybe journal. Like I strongly recommend that people journal if they're traveling by themselves to be able to process whatever thoughts are coming up for them.
Yeah, and you talked about when you move abroad and like at least having the space to do some things. One of the things that I adopted, and I want to open the floor for your interpretation on how this could be helpful. But one of the things that I adopted that helped me at least was meditation. And you keep saying, the phone, get rid of the phone. And a lot of times, most of us have our alarms set on our phones, so our phones are going off, and then we are immediately looking at emails, looking at notification. What did I miss when I was asleep? And what I did was to say, okay, if I don't have anything besides 24 hours, can I at least give myself 5 minutes before my day starts in order to set the tone of my day? Because my phone, no matter what happens in this 5 minutes, what was there is probably already going to be there on the other side of those 5 minutes. But the start of my day shouldn't be what somebody needs from me, what gossip or news, like any notification. Do you think that that would be helpful for male or female looking to move abroad, considering this may be your first time out of all that noise that is America?
100%. I'm a big fan of mindfulness for a lot of reasons. There literally you can change your brain chemistry in very healthy ways
Hmm.
by engaging in mindfulness practices. So, yay, you, RJ, for doing that. There's a book that I would recommend for folks, and don't let the name scare you. You don't have to wake up at this time, but it's called the 5 a.m. Club.
Okay.
And have you heard of it?
Yes, I have.
Super dope. So, the premise of the book is if you wake up at 5 a.m. and if you do certain things, that you'll start your day off and in a way that helps your day be more enriching. Um, because I'm not really going to be waking up at 5 a.m. I think that there are takeaways from the book in terms of adopting a 5 a.m. lifestyle. And imagine if you were on a trip and you had a 5 a.m. lifestyle where you said, for 20 minutes a day, you're going to do some sort of exercise.
Hmm.
For 20 minutes a day, you're going to engage in mindfulness, some sort of meditative practice. And for 20 minutes a day, you're going to do something that's intellectually enriching. Just imagine how it would change the shape of your trip. Just making sure that for an hour a day, if you're breaking it into those chunks,
Hmm.
that you were being purposeful in how you were engaging your mind throughout the day.
Literally, I tell people because a lot of people will look at that the whole day, and then even when you say 60 minutes, and then it's like you guys have to give yourself something that you can start with, no
Mhm.
matter how long the journey is. It all starts with the first step, and I hate to sound like cliche, but like when you get away from the noise that is America, you kind of realize that it's just simple things that add up to something big. It's usually not this big grand thing that happens all at once over so many different things and facets in our life. Like we've got to put the pieces together, and I think that moving abroad, it has allowed so many of us to have the space to even think, because that often is not given to us in the United States with overworked, overwhelmed. The media is consistently throwing something new, some new challenge. It's about to be the first. Rent is due. EBT payments are a thing. ICE is still a thing. Like it's so many things that is going on in the United States, and when you get away from it, it oftentimes positions you to take that first deep breath that you realize that you've been holding your breath this whole time. So, um, let me ask you, because have you had anybody come to you that has not had a good time and actually ended up going back to the US?
Hmm. Yes,
Talk to me.
100%. Because and not to out that person,
You know.
but it's connected to part of what you said because I would add an addendum to what you said. Um, I don't believe that there is any location in this earth that is an antidote to the baggage that you are carrying around. So the reality is okay, once you get away from the noise that is America, quote unquote, you got to contend with the noise that is inside you. And for some folks, you may realize, oh, I scapegoated the ills of one country, and that was an easier task than getting quiet and sitting with my stuff.
Turn the noise back on, huh?
Huh? Realizing
Hmm.
how much I was participating in or cultivating chaos in my life, in my relationships, in my community, at my job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Turn the noise back on. And it got too quiet. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
once you get abroad, and I tell people, community will keep you busy abroad. It's something that will have you doing the things that you love, will have you doing things that are out of your norm or things that you haven't done in so long. But a lot of times, people I'm seeing are moving abroad, and they see this bright, shiny community on on Facebook, on TikTok, and they get there, and it is actually not like it was. And some people are actually really far. Now, Colombia, Mexico, Panama, Brazil, you're still on this side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are in Asia and Indonesia, well, not Asia, but Indonesia and Thailand, and are on a whole nother day and are running into homesickness. And this can happen no matter which of these particular places you go to. Talk to me about how you're helping people navigate this homesickness thing, because some some people are already travelers, so travelers are used to, kind of just being on the road on their own. But some people are making this move abroad and went from I've got a support system, I've got my kids, to now it's just me and my children, and that is different all at once.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Before we get into that, I'm going to answer your question.
Talk to me.
I also want to add, because you talked about community, community's there, community is rich. Sometimes you get there and the community isn't what you thought it was in your head. I also think that sometimes you don't know how you might be contributing to your lack of community and what maybe you need to modify to be connected to people and especially to new people. Especially if in your adult life or in your life you haven't moved much, so you haven't had to have the experience of adapting
Mhm.
and like figuring out how to like, strike up organic conversations with people or be organically in relationships. I just think that there's something to consider in terms of a both and that sometimes the community isn't what you thought it was, but sometimes you're not who you need to
You
be.
thought you were, or
Right.
yeah, yeah. I got you. We,
Mm.
seen it. I've seen it.
And so, uh, so in terms of homesickness, I really think that it's real. Like I honor folks that experience homesickness. I also think that you have to get very active, whereas at home, you may have just naturally been able to be connected, to
Hmm.
be, people knew, okay, sometimes RJ fades to black. So I know I need to call RJ up once a week to make sure he doesn't. You have to be active. There is no like taking for granted that community is going to show up. And so, are you utilizing technology to its fullest advantage? Are you regularly calling people? I will say to be gendered a bit, I think that men are maybe more guilty of expecting, folks to show up for them socially. And that goes to traditional social conditioning in terms of like women are conditioned to be more relational and to feel more responsible for like cultivating relationships, whereas men, I think, are more Again, I'm speaking very stereotypically in gender norms. But men are, transactional. That y'all are like, okay, let's go play some basketball.
I would.
Go watch the game. It's, you know, not traditional that men are like, let me sit on the phone with you and be intentional about talking to you, or
Mm-hmm.
on the screen with you. And I would say, like, whether, no matter what your gender is, um, you know, to live outside the country and not get homesick or to challenge homesickness is going to require you to be active and communicative, right? So, like, if you find that some of your friends, families, loved ones are like not reciprocating, telling them, not getting in your feelings and just being like, look, I'm in Thailand, nobody talks to me, da 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 da. Have a sit down and say, we're gonna have to be more intentional with me living out here. And I've been feeling like
I would.
falling back.
Nah, and like I said, that word was dancing all around the room, and it's the most important thing, the intention. It is the intention of this entire thing that is going to make or break your experience as a person that is moving abroad, because you have to be intentional about the community. You have to be intentional about who you are, what you bring to the community. It's not what you can take to the community, it's what you can bring to the community. Are you a person that other people want to be around? The individual and hyper focused scenario on me in the United States puts us in a scenario where you may go abroad and not used to being around people that aren't inherently your friends. Drake said no new friends, and you guys really took that to heart. And not realizing that, abroad, you're going to get some new friends. You're going to need some new friends. You're going to need some resources. And not saying everybody has to be your friend. That is not what we're saying.
That's right.
But when we all understand, people in our community, it takes a village from a child raising adults helping raise a child. But honestly, this move abroad process, I think it really takes a village, because abroad, I have been helped by so many different members of the village, and vice versa, help them. And it didn't come from just one person. I've seen people in Medellin where somebody was having an allergic reaction at like 2 in the morning. And literally, somebody that didn't even know them was able to help them navigate, calling an ambulance. I think they went to the hospital with them. Like, this village that, when you say I want to move abroad, you are inherently saying, I'm ready to be a part of a community. You may be doing it already in the United States, but if you think that you're not going to be a part of a community and you think you're just going to be on so and so island out there, that is why I think there may be some people that are starting to move back to the United States, letting the homesickness drive them back home, letting that homesickness keep them in the house and not get out and be intentional about who they meet, whether local or expat. It doesn't matter. It just matters about the intention and the spirit that you're going with it,
Yeah.
because it is difficult to navigate that without that want to have other people around. And I think that I know we were on a conversation yesterday with Akeem and Michelet and Tisha, and I'm like, I wouldn't have been doing what I'm doing now if I didn't move abroad. But I had to be able to answer the call and have at least the space to continue to build from what an idea was that came, but it only came from the other side. And I have known and got to know some of the people that I have helped, or at least listening to a conversation, and it said, "Oh, this helped me navigate this." Am I just can you hear me? I just want to make certain because this is reconnecting. Um, so these things are really, really important for us to try to like make certain that we tap in with, because I don't think a lot of people know that before you leave, you need to put intention into your bag, like in every step of the way.
Hmm.
Talk, Tell me something positive. I know I've been being kind of heavy tonight, and we're getting wrapped up not too long, but I want to talk about something positive, because we always talk about people thriving and versus surviving abroad. In your experience, both your travel experience, as well as some of the people that work with you, what have you seen been some just great success stories as far as people seeing their new selves abroad?
I think from what I've seen, traveling abroad for folks who have a positive experience with it um, pushes their creativity, pushes ambition, um, their sense of what's possible is expanded. Their sense of like what they enjoy out of life. I think that sometimes um, we can get like boxed into this is what everybody's doing and this is what a Friday, Saturday, Sunday is supposed to look like. Um, but people saying, no, I want to get in nature on the weekends.
Mm,
Mm. Mm. Or even that transition from there's some,
Mexico.
yep, there's some walking groups in Mexico City. Shout out to Angela who created it. Black women's walking group in Chapultepec Park, beautiful park if you ever get there. Um, and just the richness of like actually having conversations with people who are traveling and like hearing their stories. I think that at least in the US context, I think that maybe, and with like technology, I think we've fallen out of the habit of actually being in dialogue with each other,
Mm-hmm.
literally sitting, we're in this text, social media culture, and instead, like actually just having sit downs with people and
Breaking
learning
bread,
about
having a
people.
good time.
Mhm.
Get back to the old school. The things that we all remember that we used to really love. People are like, "Oh, my grandma at my grandma's house, all my cousins used to hang out," and I have
Mhm.
had such a great time just sitting there talking, trying new restaurants, um, celebrating people's birthdays abroad. Like, y'all got to get ready for some of these things because people always think that they're giving something up by leaving America
Mhm.
and not realizing that you got everything in most of these places that people are looking. You almost have everything that you had in America, but you have so much more access to other things that are actually of substance at a better cost, also. So I'm like, this thought process that I'm leaving so much behind and not realizing how much you're actually gaining. I think that's what get people hung up a lot also.
Yeah, yeah. And we're also so used to just culturally how when you're from the States, how we navigate things. And what I will say is that in my travels, I noticed very early on that like people outside the US tend to be more open to foreigners than like people in the US. I guess
Yeah.
that should be no surprise considering our current context. You know,
Hmm.
but like I remember my first solo trip, I was, and it happened when I went the second time. I was literally at a lounge by myself and having problems navigating French. I didn't, I still speak very, very little French. And someone came up and said, "Do you need help?" And I was like, "Yes." And they helped me order my drink. And they said, "Are you by yourself? Do you want to join my friends and I?"
See?
And that turned into like throughout the 2 week stay, this group of people, me having dinners with them, being invited to birthday parties, like kicking it with these people um, in a way that like felt very anti-American in the best way, right? Like how often
Mm-hmm.
have we ever in the States been like, I see this foreigner, let me be interested in them and hang out with them. That's
Nope.
happened to me so many. That happened to me the second time I went to Paris, happened to me in Johannesburg. This group of friends adopted me into their friend group and just hung out with me for multiple days. And
Yeah.
so that is something that is like the real, like for me, that's what really traveling is about. It's not going from the landmark to landmark. It's like those random moments where you have these
Seriously.
lifelong stories.
Seriously. I got adopted by a Colombian family. Me and Jazz got adopted by a Colombian family. One December, it was maybe four of us: me, Jazz, Rel, Dwight, and that was it. And 45 other Colombians on a Shiva uh, in December, and it was absolutely the most fun time that I ever had. And it was something like you said, like somebody would just invite you to like have dinner, or if it's the holidays, they're like, well, you spending a holiday by yourself? Like, you shouldn't. Do you want to come and get some food? Don't bring anything, just yourself. And it's just like, you don't get this kind of hospitality in the United States. So I tell people, once again, I want to make it clear, like, you guys aren't in the position to lose something. You're in a position to gain something. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just unable to connect. Okay, I just wanted to make certain. Um, Let me. Just seems to be an issue to connect to the studio. Please try again. So it's all good. I'm back. The Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. The opportunity to see what you have on the other side of that, of the TSA, is really important for people to understand. It's not a give up thing. It's a what you are gaining. Um, but we're having a virtual relocation conference November 22nd, and I've been seeing the ticket purchases come in. We are in the last week of early bird tickets. I want to at least before we get out of here, let the people know from high level what you'll be covering on the conference, because one thing I will tell people, we've got the relocations from the destinations and all of that stuff. Those things are the easy part. But what happens to you when you get on the other side? What do you do from a volunteering perspective? How do you navigate finding schools, or what parenting abroad looks like, coaching for expats? How do you navigate and talk to somebody that actually travels? I don't know how many people that are actually traveling, that has the expertise to actually have a conversation with you that can help increase the probability of your success. Talk to me about what you're going to be covering on the virtual relocation conference.
Yeah, I'm super excited for RJ. The last one that we did was a lot of fun. So it's essentially talking about the experiences of folks that leave the country from a mental health perspective, and strategies to cope with those experiences. And when I say experience, it's good and it's challenges. It's not all bad, but just strategies. Takeaway that I always have is talking to people about, like, if they have pre-existing mental health concerns, and so the need to get your ducks in a row before you leave, to strategize to accommodate and take care of those mental health concerns. So that's on a high level, so a little taste, a little snippet of what we'll talk about.
No, seriously, we want to make certain that you guys, not us, but you, the people that are looking to move abroad, realize that it does take the village. It takes the village of the relocation experts. It takes the immigration lawyer. It takes the realtor. It takes the people on ground, the community that is going to receive you. It takes the things that you might forget running out of the burning house that it may feel like it is America. You might forget some things, but we brought all of these things to the conference so that you do not have to feel overwhelmed by the process, the legwork, the research. All of those things are designed in one place for you. You guys can go to moodtravelabroad.com and get your early bird tickets. Early bird ticket pricing will be available through the end of October. So you got a couple of days. We also do have a discount code for you, Freedom 10. Use Freedom 10 at checkout. You guys will take $10 off either your VIP or your general admission ticket. We want to make sure you guys can get into it. It's a virtual conference, so don't have to go purchase a plane ticket to get access to all of the destinations that have been on your mind, all of the experts that will help guide your relocation process. We are doing our best to take your empty book bag and put some things in it for your relocation journey. So, Erica, please tell me, how can the people get in contact with you and stay in contact with you should they want to reach out?
Folks can reach out to me on Instagram, Dr. Wilkins LMFT. That's my handle. My email address is similar. It's drwilkins@gmail.com. Either of those places, also, I know you, if they reach out to you, you're going to plug them into me. And so I
Yeah,
just
most
appreciate
definitely.
you.
No, definitely. It's a time where so many people, mental health concerns are real, and they want to know that if they leave, that somebody's going to be there to help them navigate what their new life looks like. So I appreciate you taking some time out with us in the audience for this conversation. Once again, you guys can go to moodtravelabroad.com. There you'll find all of the free resources. You'll find signups for our virtual relocation conference November 22nd. If you guys don't know, we are doing a physical relocation conference for those looking to go to Medellin, February 16th through the 22nd of 2026. So all of that and more is available to you. I am looking forward to seeing you guys at the conference, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Erica, I will see you soon. Thank you so much for taking the
You
time.
too. Good night.